We're in Taormina, one of the most beautiful places in Italy, where you can enjoy breathtaking views from its magical lush gardens, explore some narrow, very narrow streets, learn a lot about ancient history, and of course, try some delicious food. Stick around till the end, because there's also a bonus trip to nearby Isola Bella and a short hike up to the beautiful medieval town of Castelmola. First, we needed to drop Mr. Coconut in Modica. Here we had a big breakfast to make sure our belly was full ahead of the long drive. For our accommodation, we chose Villa Nadira in nearby Naxos, where for just €65 a night, we got a nice room with garden and views on Mount Etna. Driving and parking in Taormina is impossible, so you'll have to go for one of the outside multi-level parkings that will set you back about €2 per hour. From the moment you step into Taormina, you immediately realize why every corner of this town is like a postcard. Surrounded by beautiful art, by some great architecture, and you can hear the traditional music of the street artists. When it gets too busy and you want to step away from the hustle bustle and the boutiques, you can always head to one of the side streets and to one of the terraces to soak in some tranquility and some beautiful views. Our first stop here is Villa Comunale, the public gardens.
Since we got here when it was very hot and sunny, we decided to start the tour of Taormina with Villa Florence Trevelyan. Huge park, a beautiful botanical garden full of many different species of plants and flowers. Crazy to think of it, but it used to be someone's private residence. It's called Villa Florence Trevelyan because it used to belong to a lady, Florence Trevelyan, who was banned by the Queen Victoria of England. We're talking about the 19th century more or less, because she was getting a bit too many attentions from Prince Edward. She got banned from the court and she was touring Sicily. She fell in love with this place and she decided to build her house here. After she passed, the garden was donated to Taormina, and they decided obviously to open it to the public and make it like a tourist attraction, and it worked very well because it's just one of the most beautiful places in Sicily with incredible views. Now that we spend enough time here in the villa waiting for the sound to go down a little bit, we can head to Taormina's main attraction, which is the beautiful Greek theatre with views of the Etna and the ocean behind it. Let's go check it out. This is the main attraction of Taormina, the Greek theatre, which is 2,300 years old and is still incredibly well preserved. It was used by the Greeks when they were showing their tragedies and musical shows, and then by the Romans it was converted into an arena where gladiators would fight the beasts for people to see, and at its peak it would host up to 10,000 people. The reason why it's shaped this way, it's very clever. The Greeks used to design theatres this way so that it would amplify the voices of the actors and could be heard by everyone in the seats. The actors were also wearing this special mask with big openings in their mouths to further amplify their voice and ensure that everyone could hear it. In 2001, right here, they screened Apocalypse Now from Francis Ford Coppola. While there were all these war scenes and napalm explosions in the movie, the Etna volcano started erupting. Imagine watching a war movie like Apocalypse Now with a huge volcano behind it erupting. What like an emotional impact, and what an incredible sight. It's wild to think that back in Roman times, that corridor used to be where the beasts were let to walk. And there was a huge wall erected between the crowd and the stage so that the lions couldn't climb up and attack the crowd, because the crowd was very scared, obviously, of the lions. All over here, the scene would be, there would be businessmen betting on the gladiators or other tradesmen buying the strongest gladiators, or like selling each other people. The gladiators obviously fighting and keep winning was the only chance they had to gain freedom again. But in the meantime, as long as there were gladiators, people would buy and sell them. Also, women who would walk around selling sort of like today in the stadiums, selling snacks. So just standing here, it's incredible to think that all this was going on. While you look at the seat and you imagine all this ancient life going on and how different was life back then. Incredible that this place is still standing after 2000 years. So if you come to Sicily, especially if you're in the east, definitely come to Taormina and visit the Greek theater because it's totally worth it. I see that right where we're standing now, some gladiator was fighting a lion or something. Now that we visited the theater, we're really tired and thirsty, so it's time to go get a granita at the famous Bar. If we can, because there's always a huge queue there. Luckily, because it's 6 p.m, so not many people get granita, because granita is more of a breakfast item. We didn't have to queue to get a table at Bar. We had a table available after a few minutes outside, which is very unlikely. Oh, the first thing we noticed here is the prices of the granita are way higher than the average in Sicily. We're talking about 4.50 for a granita, when usually it's about €2 to €2.50. But we understand it's because of the location, it's because it's an iconic place. It's very popular with Italian celebrities. Dolce & Gabbana have been here, Alessandro Del Piero, Zinedine Zidane, famous stylists, actors, celebrities, and football players have been here, so fair enough. It's also famous for the variety of flavors. It has way more flavors than the usual ones. Yeah. And they have way more fruit flavors. So we got, for example, kiwi and raspberry, which usually you don't get into granita, so the classic tastes are always the same. So it's nice to have something different from time to time. It's strawberry and almond. Let's try. You can tell they really use a lot of fruit and they don't put too much sugar. It tastes like a kiwi. It's very, very good, but the consistency is just amazing.
Do you see the chunks of mandala?
Oh yeah, it has chunks.
It's amazing. It's roasted. Oh wow. This is definitely, without a doubt, better than Cafe Sicilia in no time. I'm not kidding.
Cafe Sicilia is considered the best pasticceria in Sicily, but when we went, we were a little bit let down by the granita, especially considering the high price.
We didn't get the brioche because we want to leave some room, because now we're gonna go for a true Napolitan style pizza here in Taormina. The reason why we picked this pizzeria, La Napoletana, is because from the photos you can already tell the pizza is good, and also the prices are pretty honest. Because the thing is, when you're in popular places like Taormina and you decide to go to a restaurant can be very tricky because you might have high chances of ending up in a tourist trap. Pizza is harder to mess it up, and generally you always find something good, and it's cheaper as well, so more worth the money. But I understand if you're not Italian, you don't get to eat much Italian food, you might also want to go to a restaurant, and that's okay. Just make sure when you're in very touristy places you do a lot of research.
An easy way to tell if a restaurant is a tourist trap is if they have a waiter standing outside and they ask you, oh, do you want to see the menu? Do you want to come in? If they have a person hired that stands outside and tries to catch tourists, guaranteed that's going to be a tourist trap. I know that because I did that job at university for a while. One of the worst places you can imagine. But we just kept getting tourists in and overcharging them like crazy for frozen food.
Proper good pizza. Yes. The great thing about pizza is that it was also very quick, good price, delicious. So now we have time to check out the sunset from the main square. We also had an epiphany in the pizza place. We decided that we should definitely go to Naples and try a ton of pizza there. So if you guys want to see us doing that, and if you want to discover how Naples is like, remember to subscribe to the channel, because that video is gonna be coming soon.
And just a few minutes away from Taormina lies our next stop, Isola Bella, which translates to the beautiful island. Crossing to the island by foot is pretty easy, and there you can choose to lay on the beach and enjoy the crystal clear waters and the views, or to hike up to the island and check out the gardens that used to belong, you guessed it, to Lady Florence Trevelyan. Lady Florence bought Isola Bella for 14,000 liras, which back in the days were more or less equivalent of 4 kgs of gold. When she passed, the island stayed in private hands until 1990, when the government of Sicily bought it at an auction and opened it up to the public. One last look at Isola Bella while driving up to Castelmola, a small medieval village that is often overlooked and left behind from people who visit Taormina, but it's totally worth it. Because of its unique position, it has some of the most incredible views of all of Sicily. Very narrow and picturesque streets that will make you feel like you've traveled back in time. And you can also visit one of the most unique bars in all of Italy, Bar Turrisi, famous for its decor with a recurring unusual theme. It also features a rooftop right in front of the main square where you can enjoy views of the town and the sea. The perfect spot for a refreshing granita before hiking up to the castle. From here you have one of the best views in the whole island, and you can see as far as the coast of mainland Italy on a clear day. The view of Mount Etna reminds us that we will have to climb all the way up there tomorrow. If you don't wanna miss that, hit subscribe and wait for the video. We will release it in the next week.